Hi, everyone. This is kind of a ahead of time welcome to Psych 397. I'm truly looking forward to having you all in class, and the material is not easy, but is definitely doable. But the primary reason for me putting together this video message ahead of time is because of certain circumstances that are not allowing me to be in class the very first day. I don't like it at all. And just to give you enough background so that you can understand why this is happening, I was scheduled for a surgery in July. That was postponed and was supposed to occur this past Tuesday. And even though it would still be iffy for next week on Tuesday, I thought maybe there was a chance I could do it. However, 6 o'clock in the morning, I received a call saying that surgery was postponed again until tomorrow, which is Thursday. Doesn't give me a whole lot of time to recuperate. So, because of that, I am going to have to bypass the first day of class and provide you with the information that I would hope to get done in that day in person. So, first off, no in person class this coming Tuesday, the first class that we would have for the fall semester. Having said that, I just wanted to go through a few things so that everybody is aware of what will be happening. And because I want you to have opportunities to see the syllabus and for me to go over that with you ahead of time, I'm going to do that right now. Again, this will be available to you so that you can watch it, listen to it, check out the syllabus anytime that is convenient for you. So let's bring that up right now. And here we go. Starting back at the top, of course, most of you can read. I understand that. So sometimes I feel a little foolish doing this, but I think it's good to go through everything anyway. This class is meeting a little later in the afternoon than I've ever ran a class. And so the class meetings are going to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2:30 to 3:50. And Health Science Building, room 217. So that's there. You can see the office hours that I have established for this coming semester. If none of these times are useful or available for you to come see me, please let me know and we can schedule a different appointment time, even if it means doing it virtually. I live in South Wales, so it's a bit of a hike into Canisius University. And so there are certain days that I don't come in, but I'm always happy to try to arrange time so that we can meet if you have any questions, concerns, or need help with material. I don't use a textbook actually for any of my courses. They're mostly self-developed courses, and this one I felt was really important. A number of years ago, I developed this because I never found a course that I thought melded mental disorders and other psychological disorders with the neurobiology, the biological underpinnings that are there triggering or contributing to these particular disorders. And because of that, I felt it was really important to introduce the neurobiology involved. This is going to be mostly brain, and we're going to be spending a good segment of the class time, the first probably almost third of the semester, really getting into the neuroanatomy, neurobiology, neurophysiology, and neurotransmitter systems that if you don't understand or at least be aware of, it's going to be very complex and almost impossible to talk about the biological underpinnings. This will come together. I know that for some of you, you're like intimidated already, going, oh, I don't like biology. I can't do this. Trust me, you can do this. And you will hopefully leave this class with a better understanding in many ways of psychological disorders, mental disorders, certain things that can happen, and how neurotransmitter systems can not be regulated appropriately and induce many of the symptoms. So, because there's no textbook, I have one book called The Human Brain Book by Rita Carter, and it was back in 2009. There may be some updates, but whatever year you can get it, this book is amazing. It's a big book in terms of dimensions, but not a thick book. It has wonderful images, very good explanations about basic things, and it's cheap. This is going to be for your reference, and I hope it'll be useful. The only other book that we may use is The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, a little paperback book that is very inexpensive, available online, available many, many places. And it is something that we will utilize for some of the disorders. Not all of the book will be utilized, but enough of it that I definitely think that it's going to be worthwhile for you. And then if you have a biopsychology or physiological psychology, behavioral neuroscience textbook, all fairly interchangeable. It's helpful for reference. The library typically has one, but I will be providing you with most of the material that you are going to be covering in this course. I'll be providing articles, printouts, and much of it will be in the lecture outlines that I give, so that you don't have to worry about coming up with an expensive textbook anywhere. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. I already do have some of these lecture outlines up on D2L, so as soon as you have access, you can take a look to see what I mean. And the way I present them is I think most of you who know me would say it's a relatively informal class with a fairly formalized outline structure, because I like to keep things organized the best I can. I remember a long time ago when I was first learning some of this, that the way it was presented was kind of loose and not put together. I call them umbrellas, like this is the overarching thing, and this comes under this area of the umbrella. And then this other material, these facts come under this part of the umbrella. So I try to do that by providing you with an outline that will put things in order and connect the dots, I hope. There is a complete version with everything filled in, but I also provide something that I call partial or student outlines. What that is the complete lecture outline with certain phrases, words, and other things left out, omitted, and you fill those in as you wish. So that hopefully keeps you engaged. Hopefully it helps you focus on certain things that I want you to. And, you can have that. And then a few days after I cover that lecture, I will put up the complete lecture outline. And then you can make sure you didn't leave anything out, or you can see what you might need to correct. But I kind of got ahead of myself. I should probably tell you a little bit more about the course first, but that way, at least now you know how it's going to be run, and the delivery and what you will be doing to kind of master the material. And here we go, discussing the symptoms, etiology, and biological systems involved in the disorders that I have listed in the syllabus, as well as a mechanism of action of some of the pharmacological therapies that are used. All that sounds pretty official. It will be readily accessible to you. Again, not easy. If you're taking this course because you want a course that you don't have to study for, you might want to make another choice, but I am here to help you if you need anything, and you can do it. So everything will be posted on D2L. I already have modules up, and as I said, I have some of the partial lecture outlines uploaded. I have a couple of the complete outlines as well, just so you can see what I'm going to be doing with that. Couple of things, outside readings, of course, I'll have a few of those to kind of augment the material that I give in lectures. And also, I wanted to address a couple of things, including my attendance policy and so on and so forth. Some of you already know this, but many of you who are new to me as an instructor, I want to make sure that you're aware of a couple of these policies that I have. I do not deduct points for missing classes. I don't add points for missing classes. And here is my philosophy regarding that, my reasons for doing that. First off, you're adult, you can make decisions about whether or not to come to class. The reason I put a lot into my classes is because I want you to understand, I want to communicate things. And if you don't come to class, if you miss a significant number of classes, you won't do as well, generally speaking, not because I'm penalizing you, but simply because you're missing on some of the things that have been discussed in class, and perhaps a way that you won't see it in the notes in the other outside readings. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So coming to class hopefully should be good for you, and maybe even sometimes almost fun, hopefully. And then secondly, the other reason I don't do the deducting points and rewarding points is some of you have very legitimate reasons at times to keep you out of class. Illness in the family, responsibilities you may have. You have to miss a class because of perhaps, it's not necessarily your own medical condition, but somebody else in your family. There are a lot of reasons that a person may need to miss a class here or there that are legitimate, and not because you're just blowing class off. On the other hand, somebody could potentially come to every single class, sit in the back corner, and sleep. They're there, but that's not a reason to just come, I guess. You're not going to get points for doing that. Not that I expect any of you in this particular class to be doing that, but I just like to let everybody know why I have this particular lack of attendance policy, if you want to look at it that way. The only times, there's a couple of times when we have something in class, oral exam, which I'll get to in a minute, where you need to be there. So I'll go on a little bit more, and make sure you check for announcements. I tend to be an overzealous emailer. If there's a change, I will post it on the news page. I'll email you about it, sometimes more than once, because I really worry about everybody getting the message in time. And right now, I am in the countryside dog communication phase right now. I live very much out in the country, but there are dogs in the area, and almost every night they're doing what you can probably hear, and that is somebody's coming home down there and their dog's barking. I think I need to bark too. So forgive the external sounds that are not supposed to be part of this. And I am going to shut the door. Maybe it'll. Okay, excuse me. So when I looked at the different ways of communicating and assessing, I hate the word evaluation, but here it is. Evaluation. There has to be some ways of assessing how well you're doing mastering the course material. And one thing that I neglected actually to say in my other classes video message is I work with a point system. You earn the points you earn, and you get the assigned letter grade for those points. If every single one of you gets enough points to earn an A, yes, great. You're awesome students. You did your work, and maybe, maybe I helped a little bit. I try to look at it that way. If some of you get B's, some of you get C's, whatever you earn, let me say that it is a rare thing to have a student not pass my course and, generally speaking, get anything below a B or C. And that's because you guys are so good at studying and making sure that you learn what you're supposed to do and being attentive to assignments and so on. I've given you credit for that. I do know that there are some professors. When I was at UB, I'll never forget this one fellow professor when we were walking through the lab in the basement of Park Hall, saying how she was really upset because so many of her students got C's and B's, and a couple even got A's on an exam, and then ultimately as a final grade. And I'm like, share with me why you're so upset. And she goes, because C is an average, and you should expect everybody to do average. And so most everybody in the class should have a C, and then people should have D's, F's, and then some B's and A's. And that is actually a lot of people also curve grades. I don't need to curve grades. People earn their good grades. And actually, when that question comes up in a class, my answer is always this. If I curved my grades so that there was more of a average mean, I would have to curve grades down. I would have to take you down letter grades. I'm pretty sure nobody wants that. My philosophy with the grading is you master a certain amount of material that I am hoping that you master. You earn that grade, fair and square. So I wanted to make sure that you were all very much aware of that approach that I have with grading. And so how do you get these points? First, there's 2 homework assignments, and the dates that they're due are indicated on the syllabus. I'll try to get them on the course schedule and other areas. And each is worth 5 points each, not big deals, but they are definitely helpful in terms of learning and studying the material inherent within doing that particular assignment. Those of you who've had me before know I don't do essays or anything like that. Basically, one will be a coloring type of homework where you are familiarized with some of the terms and going to certain areas of brain anatomy, and the other will be a crossword puzzle. And again, these may not look like they're worth a lot of points, but they certainly help. I mean, get 10 points where you can, right? But more than that, there's some of your study material that hopefully will strengthen your knowledge of what we're discussing. Then there'll be 2 written quizzes. When I'm still losing written. I shouldn't say written because they're actually going to be online. I'll talk about that in a moment. We're 10 points each, and they're also on the schedule. Oral exams. Now, before everybody or any of you feels like this is a really scary proposition and you think you should just drop the course, I want to first invite you to talk to other students who have taken my classes. There are oral exams in each of my classes. Talk to somebody, get their feedback. This is not, I'm going to torture you. You're going to come to the front of the room and be asked questions that you're going to be very awkward with. Let me talk about the procedure. first, about a week before each oral exam, you will have a list posted on D2L of every single question exactly as it will be asked for the oral exam to study. You find the answers, you hopefully learn them. There'll be 15 to 20, probably 15 to 20 questions and for you to learn. And you will only, though, be asked to answer one question. You will stay in your seat. You won't be coming up in front of the class. And also, I want to make sure it's very fair. Names, you'll fill out a name on a piece of paper, and I'll have numbers of the questions in another bowl. We have 2 bowls. People in the class pick a name and the number. And so you will be asked to answer that number question. If you like, oh my gosh, deer in headlights, I am freezing, or I didn't even study that one, or I never really understood it, you can pass and go to another one for one less point. Only worth 7 points per oral exam. And I know some of you might be thinking, all that work for 7 points for each exam, and then an extra point just for taking it. You will learn this material very well. I've had some students say they learned it better than they've learned anything else because of the way they studied and so on and so forth. Also, every single one of those questions will be reflected on the exam that follows a few weeks later. So you will be halfway studied for the exam, which will be online. Sometimes I falter and still say written. We'll discuss that more in a moment. And so it is worth doing. It is a benign, if not even sometimes a fun atmosphere. And some of you are probably looking at the screen right now going, are you out of your mind? Again, please do talk to somebody if you know any other students who've taken oral exams in my classes. And I hope that they will be able to, assuage your concerns and make you feel more comfortable with this whole thing. So there will be 2 of those. And because I don't want to make everybody sit through the whole time just waiting for other people, although it is a good study session, I now, with the bigger classes, divide the class in half according to alphabetical order of last name. And the first oral exam, one half will come at the beginning of class and the other half about 35 minutes into class time, so that you're only going to be there for maybe 35 minutes, a few minutes more, depending on how things go. And then you're done. And then the second oral exam, I just switch the order so everybody gets the first time and the second time. Again, please don't let this upset you too much. I know people's anxiety can get high. And so please talk to me if you have concerns or you need any kind of, confirmation that you're going to be able to survive this. And in the end, you're going to know this material. So after that, we have written exams again. I'm getting better because since I started doing online exams that were necessary during COVID, and again, I said I would never teach online at all. One of my words of advice to you is never say you never will. Because one year I did 3 things that I swore I would never, ever do, ever. And one thing beyond that year that I said that I never would teach online. I want to be in the classroom. I love being in the classroom. I like seeing you guys. I like being there with you. But COVID changed that. And that was a very challenging time for me because I had to get used to creating online exams, online quizzes, lectures, video lectures, so on and so forth. And trust me, I do not like sitting here. I'm trying to avoid looking at myself nearly as much as I like being in class. In fact, I really don't like it much at all. But I had to do it. The one thing I took away with me was some of the benefits of doing an online exam. These exams will be worth, the number of points, 60 points each. So that means 60 questions. And you will have a certain, like 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night to open these exams when you want to. And you, of course, will still have the timing that you have to adhere to. But that way you have flexibility when you actually take them. That's something I couldn't do with in-person class exams. Secondly, you'll get your grades like immediately. I try to set it up. I always do go over and make sure they're correct. I'm a checker, unfortunately, sometimes. And so, but those are a couple of things that you will be able to experience when you take these online, quote, written, unquote, exams. So again, I will be posting a review sheet for these written exams about a week or so ahead of the exams. And the other half of the material will be the oral exam questions that hopefully already have pretty much nailed down. So these will be multiple choice, matching, not a lot of fill in the blank, but sometimes maybe short answer. When I say short answer, I mean list the 4 things that are associated with XYZ. I don't mean write a little essay. So ultimately what we have are these point grade values that are converted to associated letter. Trust me, I did the math on this. So the way that you have a certain number of points that you have a possibility of achieving, this is what it's calculated by the 93 to 100% as an A, and so on and so forth. So the final grade, simple. You can keep track of this. Every point that you earned during the course of the semester will be added together, and that will be your final grade. Again, when we have an in-person class, I can answer any other questions you have about this, or you can shoot me an email if you have concerns. Cell phone policy, standard. No talking on your cell phone during class, only because it's extremely distracting to other people, and so on and so forth. If you have an emergency that you might be expecting, of course, leave your ringer on and let me know, and you can leave the room at that point. And I never made a big deal about it until I had a student in a class a number of years ago who sat smack dab in front of me, and it was in a different classroom. It was one where the podium is right in the middle of the class and it's narrow and long. And this particular individual had no qualms about calling people on his phone, answering phone calls, and sitting there and talking when I am literally like 5 feet in front of him. And even when I stopped and just stared at him, there was no change. So I had to speak to him. Now, nobody in this class I know is going to do that. I just want to tell you, I never expected this to happen. And one of the reasons I actually started putting something in my syllabus. The one day was kind of the last time this happened, because he picked up answered his phone. He goes, "Hi, Mom." "Oh yeah, I'm in class right now." And I'm leaning on the podium thinking, okay, yeah, your mom should maybe say, "Okay, I'll call you later," but no. So he continues to talk to his mom. And then finally I said, "Excuse me, can you please leave the room while you're talking to your mom?" And trust me, other students were like giving looks. It wasn't just me who had kind of like a weird feeling about this happening. So he stands up, and again, the student is going to remain nameless, and he graduated a number of years ago, so there's no finding him. Walking out of the room with a cell phone going, "Wait a minute, Mom, I'm going out in the hall so I can talk to you better." and then went out and shut the door. So, as I said, I never really anticipated anything like that happening, but it did. And so I started putting something on my syllabus. Long story for a very simple, short thing. I know. Sorry. Extra help again. I hope I've made it clear that if you need extra help, please don't hesitate. I want to be there for you. One other thing, always pay attention to the withdrawal and incomplete date deadlines. You can't withdraw at just any point way up to the end of the semester unless certain conditions are met. Incompletes, you have to have a certain amount of work done before you can ask and be given an incomplete. For my class, I say complete a minimum of 60% of the coursework. And that work shouldn't be 25, like, oh, right now you have an average of 30 out of all those points. So, and when I say that, I mean percent or whatever. But so just make sure you pay attention to that. If there are times during the semester that you feel you need to drop, I hope you don't need to, or need to take an incomplete because of some extenuating circumstances. Not even going to read the academic honesty paragraph that I have to put in my syllabi, nor am I going to read about the student services. You are, I think, very well informed of those things. But again, if you need to talk to me about any of them, please see me. And these are our psych major learning goals for this particular course. Why, what you should be able to do at the end. And actually, it's more of a course learning goal more than the department. So I should have said that a bit differently. And by the way, you will hear me say more than once, thinking about it, I should have done this differently, because I have no problem in admitting when I might have made a little error. Anyway, department goals. We have got to structure our courses so that they meet department goals and objectives. And so I've simply put those in here, probably not of interest to you. So really quickly now, I just want to scoot through the syllabus. This is tentative schedule. Things happen during the semester, as we know. Snowstorms, other weird things can happen. And so this is what we have here right now. Now, it shows you when quizzes are going to occur. And I do want to mention this. The quizzes will be online. They will not take longer than 15 minutes. We will still have class that day, but I just will let the class out ahead of time so they can spend that 15 minutes then or any other time during the day. I will, reiterate that policy as we get through. There are times where I will actually say, that the catch up to be announced to allow me to fill in or make up particular topics if I need to. And there were a couple of other things. Oh, because Tuesday, the very first day of class, I am supposed to be covering not just what I've done so far, but also going through the diagnosis of mental disorders notes and the overview of losses and excesses, which are in your SACS book. So now what you will have is access to these notes, diagnosis of mental disorders. The complete notes will be posted. They are posted on D2L. You can look at those. You can read these pages in SACS book. And I may even go so far as to post an older video lecture that I did for the diagnosis of mental disorders lecture. It was probably the last semester COVID stuff that I did. So it won't be like from last year, but it may be helpful for people. After that, hopefully I will be in the classroom and we will be starting with something called what is mental disorder. And you're like, what is mental disorder? Well, you'll be surprised perhaps, and perhaps not, at the different concepts of mental disorder. And so we will be starting there before we head into the neuroanatomy. If you have any questions about any of these topics or the order in which I'm presenting them or the lecture notes, please don't hesitate. I wish I could change this right now because I really want to take the written out online exam too. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about in this particular message video. The second exam will be cumulative only to the degree that if you didn't learn any of the neuroanatomy at the beginning, you're going to be lost anyway. So it's not going back specifically to that information. It will be really starting with the material after exam 1. That will be online. You see that I have it scheduled for the last day of class. There are a couple reasons that I do that. First off, I have noticed how nuts it is for some of you guys during finals week. You have so much to cram for, to do, to accomplish, sometimes 2 or 3 exams in one day. There is no way in my mind that you can do your best and actually show how much you know. And so this is an opportunity for you to take the second exam ahead of time. It will be available to you online for, again, like 9 to 9 on the last day of class. There will be no in-person class that day. You don't take the exam, you have no class, you use that time to your benefit. I want you to finish the semester in the best way possible, not just in my class, but in your other classes as well. If you choose not to, it will be available to you during the scheduled day and time during finals week, but only during that time. So any other questions about that? Again, you're going to be able to ask me that in class or in my office, and we can talk about that. I just really wanted to make you aware of that, ahead of time. So I know I have gone on for a bit. You've probably already figured out some things about me. I have animals, love animals, live vicariously about horses, love horses, never could have one, but fortunately live in an area now where there's many of them to enjoy watching, at least, and dogs, cats, and everything else. So you will hear stories, and maybe you won't want to hear them all the time. And you'll also hear other weird stories throughout the whole thing. So I will give a little bit more of an introduction the first day that I'm face to face with you, so that you know a little bit what to expect in class. But for now, I am going to say goodbye. Again, apologize for not being able to meet with you in the class in person on Tuesday. I'm trying to provide you with all of the tools you need and to get off to a start so that we're not behind right at the beginning of the semester. And unless there are complications, I plan on being in person on Thursday of next week. Hope this was helpful to you. And I really hope that you all are looking forward to taking this class. And I will see you next week. Take care. And I'm trying to get my mouse going.